Hey there everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So recently, I've watched quite a few Teens Era episodes with my partner and her sister, quite a lot of which I've enjoyed a lot more than I originally thought I would. So I decided to nominate 5 episodes that I think deserve more credit. This isn't the top 5, so I just placed them in airing order. Without further ado, let's get on and discuss them. This is an interesting episode. The narrative structure is 3 intersecting stories that take place across the same day from 3 different perspectives, which works really well. Each of the characters' days have prime objectives which carry their respective plots. Homer is trying to get his thumb reattached after Marge cut it off. Lisa is trying to make her way across school in time for her school science fair. And Bart is forced to confront the mob. All of the threads culminate in a weird but satisfying finale to the story.
Inflammable means flammable? What a country!
This plot manages to deliver a lot, considering how much it moves around from location to location, while introducing more and more key players in Springfield. I forgot until this watch through just how many supporting characters appear in this one. It's a lot, and for the most part, I think they all deliver, whether that be a humorous joke or a piece of plot development. The only part which I felt was forced was the celebrity cameo. Now, this episode aired in 2001, which would have been around about the time Malcolm in the Middle established itself as the great show that it is. So it makes sense to add Frankie Muniz here. I thought his character bounced off Lisa well, but wasn't really necessary to the plot. That 60-second or so interaction could have fleshed Bart's day a bit more, as it's the shortest. This episode is great and tightly written, which is a bit surprising given how many moving pieces there are in this plot. It very easily could have got lost in itself, but it actually doesn't. Okay, this is probably the most different in these 5 in the sense that it's very character driven. The basic premise is the roof is broken and Homer searches for a roofer. No large stakes or an over-comedic plot, which is absolutely fine. The driving force of this episode is Homer and Ray Magini, played by the incredibly talented Ray Romano, who does a great job here. His on-screen chemistry with Homer is really good. There's a real sense of sincerity to Homer here, which is very rare at this point in the run of the show. I would even go as far as to say this is the best Homer has been written in a while.
Ray Magini is an anagram for imaginary.
I think the darker turn this episode takes is great too, especially as it's so rare for Homer to be in the right about something whilst Marge is wrong. And the length this episode goes of it is bordering on ridiculous, but I think given how grounded the story is, it just about gets away with it. Though the Hawking explanation might be a stretch, even with it being played off for laughs. Of all the one-off celebrity characters, I think Ray Magini is one of the better ones. The role was so clearly made for Romano, and he just runs with it and elevates an otherwise too safe plot. Of course Homer would be in awe with this kind and cool stranger, and they bounce off each other so well. This is the best of season 16 in my opinion.
So as I was saying, Homer, Mondays, 9 o'clock, CBS. They say everybody loves that guy, but I don't get it.
So this one is kind of a parody, but I would argue on just the narrative structure, opposed to the story. There is a plot which revolves around treasure, but for the most part, I would call this episode a fun way to fill in the gaps on some characters' origins. And even some I really don't think the majority would ask for, like Snake being an Indiana Jones parody who turned to a life of crime after Moe robbed him. It's funny and adds some level of depth to his character. Now, I was worried this one would drown in its narrative and fall apart by the end, but every thread connects up surprisingly well. I do think the final confrontation is over the top and stupid, but the majority of this episode is, and seems to thrive on that fact.
It's the boogeyman's grandfather! He's gonna drink our bones!
I do wish some of the relationships and factors here altered the status quo a bit, as I think Moe and Edna have natural chemistry with each other, even if Moe was lying to her. While I think they could have pushed Mr. Burns working at the bar further, as that character in that placement is such an interesting thing to do, even if it's just a plot device leading to the treasure. To me, the biggest selling point for this episode is the narrative tools used. It feels very akin to 22 short films about Springfield, in tone, structure, and sheer variety of characters highlighted. Definitely worth a watch.
You crazy skirt? Nobody backs out on fake good mo. I ought to dive into the clavin. What are you all here for?
Much like the last, this one plays with the story structure. Homer has lost his memory from the night before and goes on a journey to rediscover what happened. This episode isn't really the funniest, but does some good character work for Homer. Now, this one is dark, and that grittier edge is established almost immediately as it relates to possible domestic abuse, even though that's not the case. Along with possible cheating and betrayal, the plot really puts Homer through some difficult stuff and manages to keep the audience captivated through the mystery of the previous day. We know Homer took the forget-me shot, and the episode does a great job of unravelling why he would do this. I would argue this episode is an existential crisis for Homer, assuming he has lost everything and pushing him to the end. Stood on a bridge with the possibility of ending his life. Even in the lighter moments exploring his timeline, there's still a sadness present. I think all of the background characters tie to this narrative. I like that they chose Duffman, as he doesn't have a lot of centric moments.
I'm just giving it to your wife. She is gonna be sore tomorrow. No!
If you're looking for a deeper Simpsons episode with darker tones, then this is an excellent choice. This last one is also a parody. It's mocking the movie of a similar title, The Departed. I've always had a soft spot for this episode. This one centres around Skinner and Chalmers having a mole infiltrate Bart's friendship group to put a stop to Bart's pranks and ultimately set him up so he can be sent to juvenile detention. Much like Ray Magini, I think Donnie is an excellent addition to the Simpsons character roster. He is excellently brought to life by Topher Grace, aka Venom in the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy.
I want you to kill Peter Parker.
I think his dynamic with Bart really pushes the plot forward, and without prior knowledge of his motives, it is a believable friendship. I think this episode uses its runtime well. Pretty much from the moment Bart arrives at school, Donnie, along with Bart's jealousy of him, is established, and their early on rivalry does a good job of intertwining him into the cast. I think they very easily could have dropped the Homer B plot and focused on Bart and Donnie's relationship more.
Principal Skinner? I did it.
Young man, my office, now.
After taking the fall for him, Bart pretty much accepts him in, but I think they could have had more of a build-up to this point, and the only way that would be possible is to remove the B-plot. Apart from that, I think it's solid, and the shift in Donnie's opinion of Bart is fluid across the plot. It never felt jarring or forced. Bart feels like the right character to do this sort of parody with, and the ending does set up future Donnie appearances. I wish he became more of a regular, honestly, so give this one a watch. It's definitely more of a fun parody. So, yeah, I know a great deal of the fanbase think The Simpsons stopped being good after season 8, and admittedly, I would have agreed with them at one point. I do now think there are some real gems in the teen era which shouldn't be overlooked. Yes, the decent episodes may not hit the heights of some of the classic era stuff, but they're still entertaining and worth a watch. Are you a fan of these episodes? What teens era episodes do you like? Please let me know in comments down below. If you enjoyed what you saw, then can you please hit that like button and subscribe? It will help my channel continue to grow. Please stay close as I try to post new content as often as possible.